Sorry about the glare in the video. I'm sitting here in a room with 3 glass walls, but anyway, to the point. I wanted to talk about something that happened fairly recently at a Trump rally with a black man who attended a Trump rally. I'm pretty sure most of you probably have heard about this. The man was sucker punched by a racist old white man, and recently in the news they've shown him reconciling with that same man in court and making up with him. I talked to my father about this, and he was really disappointed in that whole thing, how the black man dealt with that, and I sort of am too, right? So basically, what the point is that why are we as a people so forgiving of everything, especially with all the things that have happened to us, and all the oppression and all the evil things that have been done to the black community, the black race, in the past 400 years. And I know a lot of people are going to be like, oh, well, you know what, you don't just take up the narrative of victimization and being the victim. And a lot of people like to say that when we talk about the 400 years of slavery that blacks have had to endure and all the evil things that happened to us. But I mean, it's something that you just can't ignore, right? And that has actual ramifications today. All of those things, that historical precedent has ramifications in the black community today. And one of those ramifications is that what I had just said about black people being extremely forgiving. And I mean, this is kind of a double-edged sword. I mean, as a person, if you're very religious, turning the other cheek is something that, for me, that's why I'm doing this video. I'm really torn because I also agree with my father, and I also think that what he did was he took the higher ground, and that's very admirable and that's very respectable. But it gets to a point to where I think we might do it too much, and things that upset us, little things like that should upset us. But then the question becomes, well, being upset at that, where is that going to get us, right? And we've already got so much hate, and we've got so much violence against black men. So holding in that hate and internalizing that without reconciling, where will that get us? And I also understand that part of the argument. But what I wanted to do is I wanted to talk about where that comes from. Now, recently I've been reading a book. I have the copy of it here. It's called Black Child Care. I'll show you guys the outward paper covering. It's really torn out. Just excuse me for that. But yeah, Black Child Care, right? And it's written by James P. Comer, MD, and Alvin F. Poussin, right? And one of the things in this book, is in the very first chapter, is basically what we see in this story about this black man reconciling his differences with this white man who punched him. Basically, that has historical precedent. That is kind of like a coping mechanism, a survival mechanism, right? And all throughout history, and even to this day, the blacks have had to have some kind of, when we're out and we're around a lot of white people, there's some things that we don't do when we're around our own, right? And I mean, that's pretty basic. I think everybody knows that, right? And we do that for several reasons, but one of the most paramount, one of the most important reasons we do that is for kind of survival. It comes from that, in those times where if we acted out in public and somebody didn't like that, there could have been serious consequences, life-threatening, life-endangering consequences, right? So that's kind of like what he did. It comes from kind of coping mechanism, and that's what you see. And I remember somebody posting on Facebook as a comment towards that video where we see that man reconciling with the white man. Somebody, I can't remember, I'm paraphrasing here, but he said something to the effect of, "Oh, we'll make up with the white man in a minute, but we'll kill each other over chicken and Kool-Aid," or something like that, right? And that's part of what the coping mechanism is when we're in the white community. We do things, we kind of underplay our identity so that we can survive, so that we don't have to deal with any problems that may arise from being ourselves. And when we get around each other, we're just basically ourselves. But a lot of times that translates into when we're around each other and ourselves. Sometimes, like the man had said on the comment on Facebook, sometimes when people get around each other and disagreements arise and people can become really heated and they can really just turn towards violence. And I mean, that's also another issue playing in the black community is black on black violence. Basically, there's a lot of black people killing each other too, right? And a lot of the officers of the recent shootings of unarmed black men, they like to fall back on that argument too. They like to say, oh well, yeah, there are some white officers who are responsible for killing an unarmed black man, but what about the number of black people who kill black people every day and so on and so forth, right? And I think to hear that, I think as a people we do know that, but to hear it from a white mouth is really hard. But it does have some truth in it, and I think a lot of that is basically founded. It comes from this coping mechanism that we've developed over these hundreds of years of oppression and subjugation, right? Is that we, towards the white community, we may be more compromising and more able to reconcile any kind of differences or any kind of actions or disagreements that have occurred between a black person and a white person. Whereas in our own community, we're unable to do that. A lot of the times, I won't say most of the time or all the time, but a lot of the times when two people of color get into some kind of confrontation, a lot of times it can end up violently. And I think I wanted to just speak on that today as trying to get it off my chest and seeing what you guys think about it. Like I said in the beginning of the video, I'm torn between whether or not I agree with what he did. He reconciled with that man, but he took the higher ground. But I also think something like that, he should be angry about, and he should have spoken his mind and fought for what he believed in. I believe the man said that he said we can't take his word for the truth, but he said that the white man had said that he was being loud and so on and so forth. But that doesn't excuse him sucker punching him, because they're at a rally where things tend to get loud, and we as Americans do hold the First Amendment to be, just as that, like we are free to express ourselves in any way, shape, or form. And I mean, that right is unalienable. I mean, it cannot be violated, right? That's one of the bases of our Constitution, right? So whatever actions that man took are still inexcusable, but that was his excuse. But I mean, I think, like I said, I'm torn between whether he should have stood up for himself and said, hey, you did something wrong and you owe me an apology, and I want you to realize that you're wrong, instead of, just kind of coming out and turning the other cheek and just giving the man a hug. And that was really kind of one of the things that really bothered me, right? Even when this man had said, oh, next time we might have to kill him. It's just like, sometimes as black people, we can't be so forgiving of these things, and we need to stand up and fight and have some backbone and not be so worried about what the white community thinks of us. We shouldn't care about that. And if we were, a lot of times people don't do that because their thinking is, oh, we're not in a position to do that because the system and everything around us is built against us. So it's better for us just to, turn the other cheek and just take it. But I mean, that's basically what I'm trying to do with this organization that I'm running on Facebook, is just trying to build something for ourselves and build an economic base and establish ourselves economically as a people. It's something that's going to take a long time, but it can be done through education and educating each other, right? And if we had that, then we wouldn't have to be worried. We wouldn't have to have that in the back of our minds that, oh, I better do this because it might be viewed this way, and I need to kind of blend in and kind of, assimilate to this greater culture and assimilate into this system. I think a lot of black people we have that kind of internal conflict in us, right? Which is why I'm so conflicted on my feelings as to this whole situation, right? So, yeah, I just wanted to take this time out and just kind of, talk about that, get it off my chest, and just kind of elicit a dialogue between any of you guys. Like, what do you think? Be sure, I know a lot of people don't like to comment, and I know I posted quite a long-winded post about that, but please don't feel discouraged to comment, and just because I think we need to get kind of a dialogue going so that we can get somewhere. Communication is paramount, especially for us in our situation at home, right? We need to be communicating with each other at all times, right? So thanks for watching the video. If you like the video, just leave me a comment or leave me a like, and please be sure to comment in the comment section. Bye, guys.